What's up, YouTube? This is MathWiz97, and welcome back to my WWE 2K16 Universe Mode. We're here with another edition of Tuesday Night Main Event, here for episode 19 of my Universe Mode. And here we go, taking a look at the match card. We're going to see Dean Ambrose go one-on-one with the returning Alberto Del Rio. We have Chris Jericho taking on Big E, Jack Swagger, and Tyson Kidd, the potential #1 contenders for the tag team titles. They score a win over the Party Animals. And in the main event, a King of the Ring qualifying matchup. It's Wade, Bad News Barrett, one-on-one with one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions, The Ascension, Conor. So we're kicking this episode off with the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose. And we found out last episode on Monday Night Raw that next week on Mega Main Event, the 300th episode total of Universe Mode here on the channel, it's going to be Dean Ambrose going one-on-one with the monster formerly known as the Big Red Machine, the former demon now turned corporate. It is the Director of Operations, Kane, taking on Dean Ambrose in a King of the Ring qualifying match. And of course, speaking of King of the Ring, here's a superstar who could be a potential candidate for the King of the Ring. The former United States Champion, Alberto Del Rio. He made his return on the last episode of Universe Mode, challenging the United States Champion Cesaro, his former rival, for that United States Championship in the Open Challenge. Well, Del Rio fell a bit short of the mark, but definitely a strong return for Del Rio. He went out there and he really took the fight to Cesaro, definitely bringing back some memories of their old feud from earlier this year. Just really, WrestleMania, like I said last episode, could have been a candidate for Match of the Year between Del Rio and Cesaro. Del Rio, he's had a strong presence in Universe Mode, a former World Heavyweight Champion, and a former United States Champion as well. Also formerly a part of the Viva Perfecto tag team alongside Curtis Axel, although that didn't go very far in terms of the tag team titles, and eventually Del Rio just stabbed Axel in the back. But in the end, Del Rio got his comeuppance. But Dean Ambrose right now bounces Del Rio off the ropes, where we saw some nice, look at this. Dean Ambrose ducked underneath the leapfrog and now an arm drag, a bit of tit for tat, as Ambrose almost copied Del Rio there, just showing Del Rio that, hey, I can do it better than you can. And now look at this, drop kick. Del Rio all caught up in the ropes there. Del Rio likes to call himself Mexico's greatest export, the real Mexican aristocrat. Well, Dean Ambrose, he's looking to shut Del Rio's arrogant mouth. And he's looking to, by the time this match is over, Del Rio might need to get it wired shut. Because Dean Ambrose, man, this guy's crazy. He could very well break your jaw. He could break any bone in your body, really. Dean Ambrose, right now, he is just on the warpath. After being screwed over in his match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, Dean Ambrose, he will do whatever it takes to get back at Seth Rollins. And next week, he's going to get his opportunity to get redemption against Kane, which in one sense, I guess that's a fair move to make by Kane. Dean Ambrose, obviously, he's going to have some ill will towards Kane. He's going to look to get some vengeance there. So Kane, he's giving Ambrose that opportunity to get that revenge. But then at the same time, I don't think that's exactly fair. Kane, he says that his apology that he made, I'm not sure if I'm convinced by that apology, because he says that he abused his power in interrupting that matchup, and now he's giving himself the opportunity to qualify for King of the Ring. I don't know if that's really the fair move to make. He's supposed to be rewarding Dean Ambrose for the punishment that Kane gave him at SummerSlam, the unjust punishment that Kane gave Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. And now Kane, I don't agree with Kane. I don't know. I don't know what to think, because I'm 50-50. I'm split on that decision made by Kane, because on one hand, yes, that is fair to make the match because Ambrose wants that revenge. But at the same time, what has Kane done to deserve this opportunity to qualify for King of the Ring? And Dean Ambrose, really, he's not the one responsible who really deserved the punishment. Kane, like he said, if anyone's to blame, it's Triple H and the McMahons. So Kane putting the punishment on Dean Ambrose, he's kind of shifting the blame on that one. So, I don't know. I can't agree with his decision, but at the same time, I can understand it. Look at this. Del Rio with the comeback. Tilt-a-whirl backbreaker off the combination of clotheslines, as Dean Ambrose is down in the center of the ring, and Del Rio taking a moment to just soak it all in. And that's the arrogance Del Rio just exudes when he steps into the ring. And look at that. Alberto Del Rio going to work on the arm with that arm breaker, or arm stabber, as I like to call it on the last episode. And now a double foot stomp right to the gut of Dean Ambrose, and now a kick square to the face. Del Rio, a nice combination of attacks there. Hooks the leg, but Dean Ambrose kicks out at 2. And of course, next episode, we got more big news. It's going to be, of course, the first ever appearance of the SmackDown General Manager, the new SmackDown GM. We're going to find out who it's going to be next episode on Universe Mode on Friday Night SmackDown. As Del Rio again going to work on the arms. Ambrose, though, with a headbutt. And now look at this. Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose just unloading on Alberto Del Rio right there. As Del Rio, he caught that headbutt right to the nose. And Del Rio now. He meets an elbow drop from the top rope from Ambrose, who hooks the leg. But no. Del Rio just able to get the shoulders up. And Ambrose again going back to the top rope. Del Rio, you might not want to turn around. You're not going to like the view. Ambrose, an elbow drop, almost turned into a clothesline there. And nearly caught Del Rio right on the top of the head with that elbow. And now Dean Ambrose looking to finish it. As Del Rio thrown into the corner. Dean Ambrose, he's looking for something very dangerous here. Very risky offense. Perhaps on display from Ambrose. As Del Rio's up on the top rope. Dean Ambrose! A reverse suplex. Off of that top rope. And Del Rio, he's in a bad way. Now it's Dean Ambrose. He's feeling it. And the WWE Universe is on their feet. As Del Rio trying to make it back to his. Dean Ambrose, though, he's got Del Rio dazed. Hooks the arms and dirty deeds. Ambrose hooks the leg. 3 count. That's ball game. Dean Ambrose, with that modified dirty deeds, picks up the victory over Alberto Del Rio to kick off main event. Ambrose, that's a victory he definitely needs heading into his match with Kane next week on main event. Dean Ambrose, the opportunity to qualify for King of the Ring. Kane, he did make it into King of the Ring last year. Dean Ambrose, unfortunately, did not. But perhaps Dean Ambrose, this could be his year. This could be the year of Dean Ambrose. But if he can just get through Kane, then all that's left for him is Seth Rollins in a steel cage at Night of Champions. Dean Ambrose, I don't know if he's going to be able to wait till Night of Champions. You can just see. He is livid. He is absolutely livid with Kane's actions, with just everything that has gone against him since his return. And even before then, when Rollins stabbed him in the back. But perhaps Dean Ambrose, he could just be a few weeks away from his redemption. As we move on now, the second match here on main event. As we can see, the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Chris Jericho. Light up jacket and all, making his way down to the ring. Y2J, the man of 1,004 holds. He's on his way down to the ring here, folks. He's set to take on Big E of the New Day. Chris Jericho, another potential strong contender for the King of the Ring tournament. Last year, he qualified as a part of the Raw roster, although he was eliminated in the second round. The quarterfinals, he was eliminated by The Undertaker. Undertaker, of course, he went on to compete in the final match against Mark Henry, although he did just fall short of the mark. Went on to become WWE Champion anyway, but that just goes to show that Jericho, perhaps if he had faced a different opponent, he would have made it further in the tournament, perhaps even would have had the opportunity to compete in the finals himself. Well, this year he'll be attempting to qualify as a part of the SmackDown brand. Big E of the New Day, he's got different things on his mind. The New Day, of course, currently caught up with this whole Stardust fiasco, after Stardust cost them potentially the tag team titles at SummerSlam after completely taking Xavier Woods out of the match early on. But Big E, you can see he's all smiles tonight, though I'm sure under the surface the New Day are incredibly frustrated with their current situation. But of course the New Day, they're a pretty upbeat tag team. They like to stay positive, and the power of positivity has gotten them this far. If they can just get Stardust out of the way, they could very well be back into that tag team title picture before you know it. All they got to do is stay positive. And with that attitude, you can accomplish anything. As right now, Big E takes Jericho down. Nice lock up there between the two, starting off with a bit of technicality. Big E, he might look just like a muscle-bound meathead, but he's more than that. He's got some technical ability. He can fly around the ring with the speed of a Kofi Kingston. Maybe not exactly a Kofi Kingston, but a speed that is unbefitting of a big man. Big E, he's definitely one of those quick, explosive superstars who always have that power to fall back on as well. And that really makes Big E a huge threat here in Universe Mode. And definitely a force that Chris Jericho is going to have a tough time trying to take out in this matchup. A very difficult challenge indeed for the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla. But of course, Chris Jericho tonight, a victory here could be a good way for him to get back on track heading into these King of the Ring qualifying matches. A Michinoku driver from Jericho as he hooks the leg on Big E, but E kicks out just before a count of 2. Chris Jericho, of course, he is a former #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Back when he arrived to SmackDown, after the No Way Out pay-per-view, he competed at Survivor Series in a triple threat against the former world champ Sheamus and the current world champ at the time, the winner of the King of the Ring tournament, Mark Henry. So, of course, Jericho, he's got history with the world title. He's also gone up against the likes of Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. Jericho, he's been in Universe Mode since the beginning, although more recently he has sort of faded to obscurity. Jericho, he just has had a very tough time adjusting to the SmackDown roster since being knocked out of the world title picture. Just hasn't quite been able to find his niche over on the Raw roster. Or SmackDown roster, I should say. And it's Thursday Night SmackDown, not Friday. I realized that in a previous episode I did say Friday Night SmackDown. But then later on in the episode I said Thursday. So that's me just because I'm used to it being Friday Night SmackDown. It's been that way since I first started watching wrestling. So to suddenly transition back to Thursday nights, a little bit of a rough transition for me. Eventually, if I say it enough times, it'll go through my head. Also, doesn't help that I don't currently watch SmackDown, and I haven't watched it for years, so that's not helping to really drill it into my brain. But enough about the day change. It is a new day for the New Day, as he just speared Chris Jericho into the corner. And now Big E driving that boot into the chest of Chris Jericho. And now a vicious knee right to the skull of Y2J as Big E. Irish whip sending Jericho off the ropes. And a huge clothesline from Big E. Might have just knocked Jericho out of his boots. But it's not enough to finish off Y2J as Jericho kicks out at 2.5. As Big E now. He can't let that get to him. You can see he was getting a little frustrated, but he's got to keep his cool. Otherwise, there's no way he's going to walk out with a win over Y2J. As Big E, innovative offense there, slamming Jericho's skull into the turnbuckle. And now drives the knee right into Jericho's face. Big E now up to the second rope, looking to fly. There's a splash now from that second rope. And another cover from E as he hooks the leg. 2, 3, no. Jericho again gets the shoulder up. And again, it's Big E who's frustrated. As Jericho back to his feet now. Counter from Jericho. And there's a chop. Chris Jericho now. Oh, reverse elbow right to the face of Big E. And now it's E who's on the defensive. Jericho. There's a nice backbreaker. As the powerhouse of the New Day gets taken down, Chris Jericho has turned the tides. And he's starting to build up his second wind. As he drives a shoulder into the gut of Big E. And now there's a forearm to the face. Off the ropes. Bulldog! Y2J takes Big E down with a bulldog. And now he's looking to go to the top rope. He's looking to go high risk. As Big E, look out below, an axe handle from Jericho. And the crowd is on their feet. They're loving it. Chris Jericho just taking a moment to appeal to the fans. And now hooks the leg. 2, no, kick out by Big E at 1. And I suppose that's what Jericho gets for taking that moment to taunt. Just that even a split second could be the difference between a victory and a kick out. And Jericho, he paid the price. Let's look at this. Several forearms to the face of Big E, but now Big E, that seems to have just woken him up. As he throws Jericho down, and now stomps him right in the chest. And you can see this crowd there on their feet. They can tell that something big's about to happen. As Big E with a backbreaker. And another one from Big E. As Jericho, he's in a bad way, folks. Big E drags him now away from the ropes. And a huge splash as he hooks the leg, looking to put Jericho away. 2, 3, no! No. Jericho keeps himself alive in the matchup, but for how much longer? He could be on borrowed time right now, folks. Let's look at this. Big E for the big ending. No, counter. Jericho counters into a reverse DDT. And he just barely managed to escape the big ending there. And now it's Jericho. Big E staggered. Jericho trying to back him into a corner here, perhaps. Chris Jericho. Look at this. Viciously driving the elbow. Repeated elbow shots right to the side of, right to the temple of Big E. And he's down. And now Jericho. Jericho with the Lion Tamer. The Lion Tamer is locked in, and Big E, he's stacked almost on his head here. He's got no way to get to the ropes. Big E forced to tap out Jericho with that devastating submission hold. The Walls of Jericho is a devastating move in its own right, but when Jericho locks in that Lion Tamer, really just turns up the pressure, just that much more effective of a submission hold. Big E, he had nowhere to go. There's no way to escape that hold. And Chris Jericho, he gets a much-needed victory over Big E tonight. Jericho, like I said, he's been in a rut recently, but if he can keep scoring those wins and qualify for the King of the Ring tournament, then that could just be the opportunity for Jericho to turn his career back around, get himself back on track. As now we're going to move on to the main event of main event, as it's Wade Barrett set to take on Konnor of The Ascension in a King of the Ring qualifying matchup. We already know that Adrian Neville and Christian have qualified for the King of the Ring tournament. Wade Barrett looking to throw his name onto that list as well. As he slides into the ring here, Wade Barrett looking just as arrogant as ever. And we're about to see a very intense matchup here tonight, folks. I mean, we have the bare-knuckle brawler taking on the powerhouse of the Ascension. I mean, Conor, you just gotta look... When he makes his way down to the ring here, you just gotta look at the size of this man. Victor, he's the guy. He can fly around the ring a little bit quicker. He's a more versatile competitor. But just look at the size of this man, Conor. And you can see the look of intensity on his face. The Ascension, they have been quite the dominant force as a tag team, going so far as to dethrone the Wyatt family shortly after their debut to win the tag team titles. But tonight's going to be an interesting time. We get to see how Conor fares in his own right. How is Conor going to fare as a singles competitor against an established superstar like Wade Barrett, one of the SmackDown originals? We have seen Conor defeat the world champion Dolph Ziggler before, although at the time Dolph Ziggler was suffering from an injury. Of course, his infamous neck injury that currently has him sidelined after he just recently got surgery. But still, nonetheless, Conor, he can say he defeated the World Heavyweight Champion in the main event of Monday Night Raw. So Conor, he's already got some hype up to his name. He's established himself a little bit. But tonight is the real make or break it for him as a single star. Can he defeat Wade Barrett and qualify for the King of the Ring tournament? Just how far will the Ascension be able to rise up to so early in their careers? Victor, of course, we'd have to assume he's going to be getting a King of the Ring qualifying match as well in the future. But for right now, all we know is that it's Conor and Wade Barrett. And Conor, this is a good opportunity to really just put that much more of an aura behind the Ascension. I mean, it's enough that they debuted, and within the span of a little under 2 months, the Ascension able to defeat the Wyatt family, who are the longest reigning tag team champions to this point in Universe mode. But the Ascension came in just like that. At the drop of a hat, the Ascension are there, and the Ascension are tag team champions. And they have defended those titles since they won it over the limit. Of course, defeating the likes of the Usos on 2 separate occasions, Payback and Money in the Bank. And then, of course, defeating the New Day this past pay-per-view at SummerSlam. Wade Barrett, more recently, he's been knocked out of the running for the WWE Championship, although he did compete for the title back at Payback in the Fatal 4-Way, as well as Extreme Rules. And even before then, he was always in the hunt for the World Heavyweight Championship. Wade Barrett, he's always been close to that top spot, but he just hasn't quite been able to make himself #1 yet in his career. And we all know Wade Barrett's goal of becoming the WWE Champion. The first ever WWE Champion to hail from England. That has been Wade Barrett's goal since debuting. And so far, not so good for Wade Barrett. But if he could qualify for King of the Ring, just like he did last year, but if he could go even further and win the whole tournament, then he's got himself a date with Destiny at Survivor Series. Although, that's going to be against... Oh, wait, look at this, Conor! Conor using the ropes here, and the ref doesn't see it. But Barrett just able to kick out at 2. Not typically something I would expect from the Ascension, but you got to do whatever it takes to qualify for this King of the Ring tournament. You got to do whatever it takes to win in a match like this. But Wade Barrett, he's got Conor wrapped up in the ropes here. Now viciously driving that knee into the skull. Conor doesn't even know where he is. And Barrett, with a big boot, sends Conor crashing out to the floor. Wade Barrett's just like that. He's in firm control of this matchup. And he's got one half the tag team champions on Dream Street. As Barrett bouncing Conor's head off the face of the announce table there. And now rams him right into the ring apron there. Wade Barrett just relentless in his assault right now. And now Barrett driving the elbows into the shoulder blades of Conor as the referee continues his count in the background. Wade Barrett, he's got to bring Conor back into the ring, or at the very least keep him down and out to win this match by countout, as he just rammed him face first into the ring post. Referee up to an 8 count. Conor is still down here. Can he make it back in time? That's a 9 count, and Conor just able to make it back into the ring. But Barrett knocks him back down and continues on the attack here on Conor. Barrett now rolling him over and now just slamming Conor's head into the mat there. Wade Barrett, that's one thing he brings to the table, is his viciousness, his pure brutality. As off the ropes goes Conor. Oh, but Conor blocks the belly-to-belly suplex and a couple of strikes to the face. And look at this! Flapjack by Conor. And Conor, you can see he's back. He's wide awake now. He's back in this thing. And Barrett, he could be in a world of trouble here. As Conor spins him around, he's got him up. Full Nelson slam. And that could be enough to put Wade Barrett away. Conor hooks the leg. 2, 3, no! Wade Barrett just gets the shoulder up just in the nick of time. And Conor, you could see the look of disbelief on his face. He was looking to finish Barrett off then and there. But unfortunately for him, that's not enough. As Barrett off the ropes, and another flapjack from Conor. As Conor not wasting any time, going right back on the attack on Barrett. Barrett trying to stumble back to his feet here, but you can see he's out of it. Conor now, for the second time, a full Nelson slam. And that's gotta be it. 2, 3, there it is, folks. That is, in fact, the end. Conor defeats Wade Barrett and qualifies for the King of the Ring tournament. So it seems as though Wade Barrett, he's not going to get to qualify for the second year in a row. This time he's knocked out of the running before it can even begin. And that's going to be it for this episode of Universe Mode. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on YouTubing.